provided by Thomas Allgeier and Frennis, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about MarTech in calendar weeks 30 and 31. Frennis is a B2B market research company that supports enterprise marketing teams in unlocking the full potential of their customer data with the help of AI. You can find more info in the description.
Right. So,
well, actually, imagine cutting a check for like $9 million every single year just for the privilege of copying your own data from one server to another.
I mean, it sounds completely absurd, right? But that's not a hypothetical.
No, it's a very real frustration right now from a Fortune 1000 CTO.
Yeah.
And it honestly perfectly encapsulates why the MarTech stack as we know it is just like buckling under its own weight.
Yeah, we are looking at a fundamental rewiring of how enterprise marketing operates. The tolerance for, buying software just to say you have it, it's essentially at zero right now.
Yeah, exactly. So today, in this deep dive, we're dissecting 3 massive shifts from the latest industry discussions. We've got a brutal C-suite crackdown on stack strategy, a total architectural rethinking of customer data platforms, and then the very sobering mechanics of getting agentic AI to actually function.
Without completely breaking your brand, which is the key part.
Right. So let's start with that crackdown. For a long time, the prevailing strategy was just, accumulation. Buy the new tool, plug it in, figure out the use case later.
Yeah, the growth at all costs era. But based on the research we're seeing, finance is finally stepping in. They are demanding actual accountability now.
And the scrutiny is just unprecedented. I mean, Frank Arderell recently highlighted this McKinsey survey of 521 global marketers, and it visualizes this problem perfectly.
Oh, yeah. The data on how success is measured, it's a glaring disconnect. So they found that roughly 70% of CEOs are judging marketing based on hard revenue and margin.
Right, the actual money.
Exactly. But only about 35% of CMOs are actually tracking those same metrics for themselves.
Wait, so if the person signing your checks is measuring you on revenue, how are only a third of marketing leaders even tracking it?
It's wild, isn't it?
It's like buying a Formula One car for your team, but the CEO is judging you on your lap times while you're only tracking how much fuel you're putting into the tank. You're completely misaligned on the physics of the race.
I love that analogy. And that misalignment, it's exactly the mechanism causing these massive AI initiatives to just stall out. They get stuck at this basic surface level adoption.
Because you can't prove the ROI.
Right. If you approach the CFO to fund an AI expansion, but your whole justification is built around like campaign velocity or content output, the conversation just dies in the room.
Because they don't care about output. They care about margin.
Yes. If you can't prove the payback in the CFO's language meaning margin expansion or net new revenue, you're just never going to get the capital required to turn AI into a real structural advantage.
Which, honestly, explains the incredible mental gymnastics happening behind closed doors right now to protect existing budgets. I mean, there's a budgeting model being discussed by Utkarsh Vikram Singh that categorizes every MarTech dollar into 3 buckets.
Yeah. Survive, thrive, or jive.
Yes. It's a harsh reality check. So survive is your basic infrastructure. You literally cannot operate without it.
Right, like your CRM, deliverability tools, consent management.
Exactly. And then thrive is the strategic layer that compounds in value over time. Think first-party data architecture, unified profiles, but the jive bucket.
That's where the really problem lies.
Oh, absolutely. It's the expensive experiments. The AI pilot that never actually shipped to production or, that massive dashboard rebuild that took 6 months and literally 0 people log into.
Right. But here is the organizational psychology at play with that. Jive spending rarely gets cut outright.
Because people hide it.
Exactly. Marketing leaders quietly relabel it as thrive on the spreadsheet. They basically camouflage the experimental waste as strategic infrastructure just to survive the quarterly budget review.
And eventually, that camouflage collapses because the maintenance costs just consume everything. Mateen Sheikh makes a really compelling argument here. He says strategically removing tools is a much more powerful lever right now than adding them.
Because of the hidden tax, we tend to look at software costs as just the licensing fee, right?
The upfront cost.
But under the hood, every single new platform introduces a massive hidden tax. You've got API integration maintenance, data reconciliation pipelines, compliance auditing.
The organizational learning curves alone.
Exactly. Eventually, the sheer weight of maintaining all those integrations just outweighs whatever marginal capability the tool brought in the first place.
So you end up with a stack that is incredibly capable on paper, but completely paralyzed in practice.
Precisely. Lisa Morrell actually pointed to the new Apex MarTech matrix, this is from the CMO Council and MarTech Drive, to illustrate this.
Oh, the maturity mapping one.
Yeah. They evaluate a marketing org not just on the technical capabilities they purchased, but on the organizational maturity required to actually turn those tools into business value. They map them into 4 profiles: underbuilt, overbuilt, precision, or powerhouse.
And overbuild is the fascinating one here.
Because it's a direct result of that jive spending. Buying advanced capabilities without having the internal data maturity or even the talent to execute on them.
Okay, I get that. I understand the instinct to blame the sprawling software stack. But is it possible we're diagnosing the wrong disease here? Like, if an organization is overbuilt, isn't that just a symptom of a missing underlying strategy?
That's a very fair pushback.
Yeah, I mean, there's a metaphor floating around from Yuvraj Agarwal about the Odyssey that captures this perfectly. Odysseus had a really crude map, but it got him where he needed to go. If a smarter tool arrives, say like a hyper-advanced AI routing app, and you throw away the old map, that smarter tool just reroutes you based on micro-efficiencies. It saves you 4 minutes today, but it costs you 10 years of wandering if you don't actually input your final destination.
You just end up going in circles.
Right. Are we just letting the algorithms optimize us into a circle because we lost the destination?
It's a critical distinction. The tool is rarely the primary failure point. It's the missing foundational architecture. I mean, if your overarching destination is to truly understand and react to the customer, no amount of application layer software will fix a fundamentally broken data foundation.
You can't orchestrate a journey if your instruments are lying to you.
Because the data itself is siloed or delayed or duplicated. Which brings us right back to that staggering $9 million quote about copying data.
Oh, yeah. The architectural warfare happening right now over customer data platforms.
The frustration at the enterprise level has just reached a boiling point. Anthony Rocio shared insights from Fortune 1000 CTOs, and the resentment toward traditional packaged CDPs is palpable.
Yeah, because when you have a massive enterprise data warehouse like BigQuery, all your proprietary customer data already lives there.
Exactly. And traditional CDPs require you to copy that data out of your warehouse and ingest it into their proprietary black box just to build an audience.
Which is insane. That CTO spending $9 million a year wasn't paying for advanced marketing. They were just paying a tax on data duplication.
Basically a ransom to access their own data.
Right. For $9 million a year, that platform better be predicting the future and physically making my morning coffee.
Seriously.
By the way, if you want to make sure you're always staying ahead of million-dollar architectural shifts like this, just take a quick second to subscribe so you don't miss our future deep dives.
Definitely. So this frustration is driving the massive rise of warehouse native and composable CDPs like Growth Loop.
And the mechanical shift there is profound, right?
Yeah. Oh, completely. Instead of copying the data into a new platform, a composable CDP sits directly on top of your existing cloud data warehouse. It queries it right where it lives. It's a zero-copy architecture.
The competition to own that serving layer is getting intense. Rupali Krishna highlighted that Databricks is aggressively entering the CDP market now.
Yeah, they're building identity resolution, segmentation, and activation directly into their lakehouse environment. They are going head-to-head with Snowflake to become the definitive singular serving layer for customer data.
Okay, I see the appeal of centralizing everything and cutting out the duplication, but let's talk about the physics of actually querying a massive data warehouse.
The latency.
Yes. If we are running SQL queries against a petabyte-scale lakehouse, aren't we sacrificing the real-time speed required for, like, live web personalization? It feels like having a brilliantly smart Michelin star chef in a kitchen that is simply too far away from the dining room.
It takes too long to get the food out.
Exactly. The meal's perfectly customized, but by the time the waiter walks it out to the table, the customer's already paid the check and left the building.
That is a great way to put it. And that latency issue is the Achilles heel of a purely composable approach. Oscar Lopez Cuesta defines this exact problem as the stale attribute payload gap.
The stale attribute gap.
Yeah. If you architect your personalization engine solely on batch loads from a centralized warehouse, the data processing takes time. You might inject a 30-minute-old attribute into a live user session.
And mechanically, a 30-minute lag means you are offering a customer a discount on an item they literally just checked out with.
Or you're recommending a white paper they just finished reading. It doesn't just look uncoordinated, it breaks trust.
So how do you actually reconcile that? The need for centralized zero-copy data, but with the requirement for sub-second edge-level activation.
The consensus is pointing heavily toward a hybrid CDP architecture, like what Telium offers, for example.
Okay, how does that work mechanically?
A hybrid approach bifurcates the workload. It handles the heavy, immutable batch data in the warehouse natively, but it simultaneously maintains a lightweight, real-time event stream at the edge.
Got it. So it reconciles the historical deep dive analytics with the sub-second profile freshness you need when a user clicks a button on your website.
Exactly. It gives you the best of both worlds.
But architecture only solves the speed and storage problem. What happens when the tracking mechanisms themselves are actively fighting each other?
Ah, the identity resolution nightmare.
Yes. Prachi Jain raised this fascinating technical conflict she calls the hidden identity problem. Say you have the Adobe Web SDK and Marketo Munchkin running side by side on the exact same web page.
Which happens all the time in enterprise stack.
All the time. Under the hood, they're issuing entirely separate IDs and dropping parallel cookies into the same user's browser.
And that creates a bifurcated identity graph. To your analytics platform, one single anonymous human looks like two completely distinct visitors acting simultaneously.
And when those separate IDs eventually try to merge in the back end, it just scrambles the attribution models.
Yeah.
Your customer journey analytics become mathematically useless because the fundamental premise of who did what is corrupted at the very moment of collection.
It's two incredibly smart systems creating total chaos because nobody enforced a universal translation layer.
Right. So how do you fix it?
Well, fixing this requires an entirely different approach to data modeling. Debashrita Dutta argues we have to structurally shift from a data-first CDK design to an audience-first design.
Meaning what, exactly?
In a data-first approach, engineers just pipe every available field into the CDP and try to make sense of it later. But in an audience-first approach, before a single schema is finalized, you define the exact audience you need to activate.
Oh, I see. Start with the destination. It maps perfectly back to the Odyssey metaphor from earlier.
Exactly. You trace those specific required attributes backward to their source systems. You define mechanically what fields must be real-time versus what can be processed in batch. You build the data model exclusively around the requirements of activation rather than just blind ingestion.
You have to know who you want to talk to before you build the plumbing to reach them.
Exactly.
And this pristine sub-second data environment, it's no longer just a nice-to-have for better email targeting. It is the absolute prerequisite for the final shift we need to dissect today, which is agentic AI and orchestration.
Because if you feed scrambled identity graphs into autonomous AI agents...
You aren't just sending a bad email, you are orchestrating a real-time brand disaster.
100%. The shift from execution to orchestration is the most fundamental change in marketing operations in a decade. We are moving away from building linear channel-specific batch campaigns and moving toward unified ecosystems that respond instantly to customer intent.
Yeah, I actually saw Nuri Duff point out a very revealing new job title emerging in the market. Head of Customer Experience Orchestration.
That title alone tells you everything. It proves the industry realizes that static campaigns are dead. The future is defining parameters and letting algorithms orchestrate the next best action across every touch point in real time.
But letting agents orchestrate the experience requires absolute microscopic context. I mean, AI isn't intuitive, right? It is ruthlessly literal.
Very literal.
Chris Trevitter shared a story that should honestly terrify anyone rushing into this blindly. A HubSpot customer was paying for 56,000 monthly Breeze credits. They spun up an AI prospecting agent to go out and find leads.
And let me guess, it didn't find any.
It was sourcing exactly 0 contacts per day.
A total failure to execute.
Exactly. But the reason it failed is what matters here. It wasn't a software bug. The company's persona data was actually incredibly rich, but the literal fields for their ideal customer profile, like the ICP job titles, were left entirely blank in the configuration.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We are so used to software giving us a loud red error code when something is broken. AI agents don't fail loudly. They fail quietly. They act on empty configuration fields you forgot about 6 months ago, and they will confidently do nothing while burning through your API credits.
That quiet failure is the defining risk of agentic marketing. An agent doesn't possess common sense. It only possesses the context window you provide.
Right.
And because the risk of a rogue agent is so high, we are seeing vendor platforms physically build governance directly into the user interface to restrict what the AI can mechanically access.
Okay, but how does that actually work in practice? How do you leash an autonomous agent?
You restrict its API permissions at the server level. Andrea Veggiani noted that platforms like Braze and Showpad are now explicitly publishing what their remote model context protocol or MCP servers do not expose to AI agents.
So it's security by limitation.
Exactly. For example, Bloomreach restricts its agents so they can only pull from existing pre-approved voucher pools. The agent mechanically lacks the API endpoint required to hallucinate and generate a 90% discount code on the fly.
That's smart. Because otherwise it might just give away the farm to close a deal.
Right. And Lokanath Chaudhary ran extensive tests on Workfront's new content reviewer agent. It acts strictly as an advisory layer. It will catch obvious brand slips and tone issues, but the system architecture refuses to let the agent act as the final approval gate. It cannot physically publish the asset.
The human remains the unavoidable bottleneck.
Yes, deliberately so.
Okay, I understand limiting a single agent inside a single platform, but the whole promise of orchestration is cross-platform fluidity.
Sure.
Say an agent in your CRM hands off a task to an agent in your content system, and that agent hands it to a third agent in your ad platform. If something goes completely rogue at 2 a.m. on day 3 and across 3 different vendor ecosystems, how on earth do you know which human authorized it back on day 1?
Now you're hitting on the exact technical hurdle the industry is scrambling to solve right now. Kenny Rajan provided some brilliant insight here by pointing to a specific protocol. It's RFC 8693.
Okay, unpack the mechanics of that for us.
So this is the Oath 2.0 token exchange standard. Historically, if a system needed to do something, it might use a master API key. But in an agentic chain, you can't just pass a master key down the line.
Too dangerous.
Way too dangerous. With token exchange, when Agent A asks Agent B to perform a task, Agent B doesn't use Agent A's broad credentials. Instead, it securely trades its current credential with the authorization server for a newly minted, highly restricted, downscope token specifically for that one narrow task.
Oh, I see. It's like a chain of signed permission flips. Instead of handing the AI the master keys to the building, it has to go to the security desk at every single door, hand in the previous slip, and get a new one that only opens the next specific room.
That is a perfect analogy.
And the security desk records exactly who requested the original entry.
That is the exact mechanism. It creates an immutable, traceable delegation chain. If an agent hallucinates a campaign across 3 platforms, you don't just see that a machine did it. You can trace the cryptographic permissions back through every single hop to the exact human user who originally initiated the workflow.
It solves the accountability problem by baking identity directly into the API calls.
Exactly.
But, I mean, implementing this level of technical governance completely shatters the traditional marketing org chart. If the software is doing the executing, what are the humans even doing?
Managing the agents. John Miller shared an incredible case study about Daxco's CMO, Wendy White. She deployed over 80 distinct AI agents across her marketing organization.
80? That's a massive fleet.
It is. And to make an operation of that scale function without imploding, she had to pull a VP into a dedicated AI center of excellence. But more importantly, she completely restructured her entire team, dismantling the old specialist silos.
Like the email person, the ad person, the content person.
Gone. Because when the agents handle the channel-specific execution, specialist silos become obsolete. The bottlenecks in her organization were no longer the manual tasks. They were the handoffs and communication gaps between the human workers managing the agents.
Right, the seams between the departments.
Exactly. So she had to move her people into generalist, vertically integrated roles where a single human manages a pod of agents from strategy all the way to execution.
Real Longacre actually framed this perfectly. He calls this the inevitable rise of the marketing engineer.
A marketing engineer, I like that.
Yeah, we are moving past the era of the campaign manager. Tomorrow's competitive advantage isn't writing clever copy, right? It's designing the data pipelines, architecting the token exchanges, and calibrating the decision engines that actually execute the work autonomously.
We've covered a staggering amount of technical ground today. From the C-suite fundamentally rejecting experimental jive spending to the intense architectural battles over zero copy versus real-time CDPs, and the stark reality that AI agents require pristine context and cryptographic governance just to function safely.
It's a lot to process.
It is. But if there is one final forward-looking thought I want you to walk away with, it comes from Scott Brinker.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive talking about the plumbing, the data architectures, and the agents. And as these AI systems increasingly do the actual web browsing, the vendor researching, and the procurement for us, the immediate assumption is that the traditional visual website, is dead.
Right, like why build a beautiful homepage if a machine is the one reading it?
Exactly. But Brinker argues the reality will be the exact opposite. We are going to see the rise of parallel web experiences. Yes, there will be a highly structured, utilitarian, machine-readable layer built entirely for agents to extract data via APIs.
The functional layer.
But alongside that, because the machines are handling the mundane tasks, the moments when humans do choose to show up and interact will demand a highly visceral, incredibly high-fidelity, emotional experience.
Oh.
You aren't just designing for eyeballs anymore. You are going to have to design digital experiences for cold, literal algorithms and deeply emotional humans simultaneously.
It's a completely new paradigm for digital discovery. It always comes back to the human element, doesn't it? You can build the most advanced autonomous Formula One car in the world with a zero-copy data foundation reading the track in milliseconds. But at the end of the day, there is still a human driver who needs to actually feel the road.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on field marketing, channel and partner marketing, AI and B2B, go-to-market, ABM, and social selling. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to check your own configurations, make sure your destination is set, and we will catch you on the next one.